Hi, third graders. It's Miss Spears, and I'm back today to talk to you about perpendicular lines. Our goal today is that we are going to be able to identify perpendicular lines. So, yesterday you were learning about points, lines, and angles. You learned that a line is a path that continues on in both directions indefinitely. And a line segment would be if we were to stop that line at two endpoints. When two lines share the same endpoint, they form an angle. If two lines intersect, they will also form an angle. So today we're going to talk about a very specific type of lines and how they form right angles. Now, for this lesson, you are going to need a very, very important, hard to find tool. Are you ready? It's sticky notes. So you probably have some sticky notes laying around. If not, a regular piece of paper will be fine as long as it's not all crumpled up and wrinkly. The reason that this tool is so important is because it is a square. Any square or rectangle has right angles. So the way that these two edges of this square meet, it forms a right angle. We're going to use these sticky notes as a tool to help us determine if we have a set of perpendicular lines. I hope you have your sticky notes ready because now we are going to learn what are perpendicular lines. Let's take a look at some angles that I have marked out on this paper. Okay, so first we're going to take a look over here. Now let's remember that the corners of these sticky notes are all right angles, right? Because this sticky note is a square, and any square or rectangle has right angles. So watch what happens when I line it up with where these two lines intersect. It's a perfect fit. I can still see how this line runs along the side of my Post-it note, and this line runs along the side of my Post-it note. That means that these two lines form a right angle. These lines are perpendicular. It has a special marking. It looks like a square that they have in red here. That tells you that these lines form a right angle and they are perpendicular. Let's take a look over here. If I try to line up my Post-it note in the corner where those two lines intersect, what happens? The top line disappears and it doesn't match up exactly like it did over here. That means these lines are not perpendicular. They don't form a right angle. And you can even tell that because it's marked differently. This is an arc and this is a square. So, perpendicular lines, not perpendicular lines. Take a look at another set of lines that I have here. Oh, this is quite a puzzle. We have line AB, line GH, line EF, and line CD. I want to figure out which line is perpendicular to AB. So I have my sticky note, and I'm going to try putting this sticky note in the angles that these lines form. So it doesn't line up perfectly there because it hides the other line in the angle. So GH is not perpendicular to AB. Put a little, it's not that one. Let's try EF and AB. I have to make sure my square is lined up exactly with the line and exactly in the corner. It's pretty close, good enough. and we can see that there's a gap now between my sticky note and the line. So it doesn't line up perfectly. So that means EF is not perpendicular to AB. Let's try CD. Ta-da! So there it is. AB lines up with the bottom of the sticky note, and CD lines up with the edge of the sticky note. So we would say that AB and CD are perpendicular. The way that these two lines intersect form a right angle, so AB and CD are perpendicular. So we can also find perpendicular lines in everyday objects. Here I have a box of tissues. Now, I've already put my sticky note on there, and you can see that it lines up perfectly with the edges of this tissue box. So that means this side of the tissue box is perpendicular to this side. Now, if we move it down to the bottom corner, you'll notice it lines up perfectly again. So this side is perpendicular to this side. What do you think is going to happen in this corner and this corner? Will the sticky note line up? Yeah, it's going to, because the face of this tissue box is a rectangle, and we know these are 4 right angles, so these sides are perpendicular to each other. We could also look at a rectangular picture frame, and you can see that even teachers have to take those silly family photos where you all wear the same outfit. But we can see that the sticky note lines up in the corner of this picture frame, which means this side is perpendicular to this side. Let's look at a picture of an everyday object. So here's an exit sign, and they have labeled the sides. This is side JM, this is side ML, this is side KL, and this is side JK. So can you find some pairs of perpendicular lines in this everyday object? So I would say that JM is perpendicular to JK. So JM and JK are perpendicular. What else are perpendicular? JM is also perpendicular to ML. All right, it's time for you to try identifying perpendicular lines on your own. You're going to go to your workbook and do pages 373 to 375.